Yeah. Um, I was visiting
Oh,
with.
we're live.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
See, all of my stuff still says that hey, one of these moments will go live. Wouldn't that be something?
You have to be looking at just the right time.
See, I've got a giant button on mine that says go live, and, and so usually I wait till Andreas tells me like three, two, one kind of a thing. But I guess
Mm.
he didn't do it this time. All right, we're going to talk today about what to do if the temperature drops to 100 below. And I think it's fair that somebody could say, do you mean Celsius or Fahrenheit? And I would say, like, when we're starting to talk about this cold and we're just talking about, like, it's probably colder than anybody has ever experienced before. And so it doesn't matter, 100 below Celsius or 100 below Fahrenheit, one of those. Sure. I'm going to guess that 100 below Celsius is colder than 100 below Fahrenheit. I know that they both are the same at about 40 below, and that's pretty cold there. Now, Alexandra, what is the coldest you have ever experienced?
I would say negative single digits.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it? So like -7 or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Very cold.
All right. So I once experienced 100 below,
Wow.
and I don't think I've ever shared this in a podcast before. Um, but the story goes like this: I was in Missoula and working late, and I was the last person in the office, and I was working as a software engineer at that time, and everybody had said that the temperature had dropped a lot outside. Boy, it sure is cold. And I hadn't really paid that much attention. But at that time, I was a young man, and I refused to own a vehicle. I went everywhere on my
Mm.
bicycle. And in that age, in order for me to stay upright on my bike, if it was icy, I had made my own studded snow tires for my bicycle. Um, I had taken a tire and I drove stainless steel screws to go out, pan-headed screws to go out, and then I put duct tape on top of the screw heads, and then put the tube back in. So I would kind of make that clicky clicky sound wherever my bicycle would go if it was on regular pavement. So um, late at night, uh, uh, I got on my bicycle and I bundled up, and I went outside, and wow, it sure is brisk. And the wind was blowing, and I was my way home, which I just looked it up yesterday. It turned out to be this route that I took was 1.6 miles, so it's not very far. And I got on my bike, but I'm going against the wind, so I'm standing on the pedals to get home. And I remember I've got a scarf over my face, and it's building up ice outside of the scarf. And uh, but I got home, and it's like, wow, that was a really, really cold ride, especially against the wind. And boy, the wind sure is howling. So the next morning, I read in the newspaper that it got to 30 below, and it was 100 below with wind chill. And that
Mm.
it was so cold that the police were looking for anybody on the street, and they were picking them up and taking them home, and they were not allowing people to be out. Everybody was required to be at home because it was so cold. And yet I was out riding my bicycle. They didn't find me. I slipped past them. So, but I felt like I was comfortable enough because I don't know, I was pedaling and stuff. So, I don't know, I felt fine, but I was very bundled up. Hi,
Yeah. What do you?
Peter. I see
Yeah.
you.
Hello.
We're talking
Hello.
about so the whole thing we're recording today is what to do if it's 100 below. And we already talked about like Celsius or Fahrenheit, doesn't matter. We're just talking about extreme cold. But Peter, we found out that Alexandra has been out in the cold when it was like about seven
Negative,
below
yeah,
7 below
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what that works out to in Celsius.
Yeah.
Um, so, Peter, what's the coldest you've ever experienced?
Oh,
How long has it been since you've had to practice the English language? Years?
sometime. Sometime.
Sometime.
Um, Writing is okay, but talking. Okay. Let's say coldest 20 below zero C. I can no, I can calculate it, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Uh,
at 20
20.
below
That's
C, we're getting.
about, yeah, that's about -4 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so that's about the same that Alexandra's done. Now, here at my place, we have had 26 below.
Yeah.
Um, and 2 years ago, we had 25 below. When I was a kid, I went outside and I did experience 30 below once when I went out in the morning to feed the cows. I saw 30 below on the thermometer. I do remember that when it would be that cold, when I'm out there moving the bales around to feed the cattle, um, you would sweat because of all the hats and stuff you're wearing. And I remember getting an icicle on the tip of my nose, and we all had a little icicle. But the thing is there's a little watery layer between your nose and the icicle. So we were all kind of walking, trying to hold our nose still so we wouldn't lose our icicle to see who could get the biggest nose icicle.
Well,
Yeah.
So
so when it's cold like that, does it always accompany a lot of precipitation?
no, in fact,
Or,
it's kind of the opposite.
yeah.
My experience is I've always thought there was this expression called "too cold to snow,"
Interesting.
but I've been around when it's been really cold and seen some snow. So it's like
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I guess that maybe the expression "too cold to snow" is a misnomer.
Or maybe it's the norm but has some exceptions.
Oh, and it could be that. It could be that. Um, so I've been around, and I gotta say I've also done 30 below in Missoula. In addition to that one time I just told the story about, and I remember at the coldest time of the day when it was 30 below, I bundled up and just needed to go outside for a walk for like 45 minutes. I just needed to know that I could do it. I kind of feel like it's a bit of an IQ test. Like if you could go out for a walk at 30 below,
And survive to tell the tale.
then yeah, you
Yes.
kind of proved to yourself that you're at least this smart, you know, not
Yeah.
particularly smart, but at least this.
No. A niece of mine lives in Finland. Can you understand me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Lives in Finland, and sometimes they have uh, -30 uh, Celsius there, and even the Finns say it's dangerous that cold. But normally they walk the dog in 20 below, and it's okay for them. But here in the Netherlands, let's say we have just frost tonight, and maybe one time a year 5 degrees below zero C, and that's it. Uh, couple that with the fact that a lot of housing in the Netherlands isn't insulated at all.
Wow.
By the way, not our house. Our house is a passive house, and it's very comfortable everywhere in the house. But uh, there's one thing what I just a thought. Say that you're in Montana. Where do you live, Alexander?
2 states south of Montana in Colorado.
In Colorado. Okay. It's about the same temperatures there.
The lows at the coldest time of year are about 10 degrees warmer on average.
Ah, okay.
We're at higher altitude, but closer to the equator.
Yeah, I know one guy in Colorado lives in the mountains, and it's cold and very dry there.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, um, when you burn wood for heating, then it would be best to have a stash of fuel right beside the stove. Otherwise, you have to go outside and grab some fuel which is very cold and probably also wet. So you have to have it by the fire to thaw it a bit. And when there is still water in there, the efficiency of the burn is very low then. Say above 20% of the fuel is water, then about half the efficiency is wasted. Just like that. So better to have a stash of fuel besides the heater. So when the time comes that you can't go outside, then you have your fuel, which is very efficient to burn, by the way.
So I wanna do a little bit of introductions here, kind of quickly. I do want to say that the topic today is about how to stay warm if we encounter 100 below, and I think it's worth contemplating and talking about now. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen. Um, and then it's kind of like we could even argue about like the thing that I experienced decades ago when I was young, and it was 100 below, but that's with the wind chill factor, and it was actually 30 below. Um, and it's like we could talk about that versus a legit 100 below kind of a thing. But I kind of feel like the three of us are going to have some bias in how we go about heating ourselves. And at the same time, I'm excited to have the three of us here because I kind of feel like I want to tell Peter about some of his experiments that he did here that are working really well and talk about those. And I also want to explore space where Peter and I might get into a bickering match about something, because I feel
as usual.
yeah, and I kind of somebody recorded you and I doing this once, and they were so angry at me because they felt that I was abusing you, and I thought abusing Peter? What, you think Peter can't take care of himself from a guy like me? And it's like, no.
I'm not easily abused.
There you go. There you go.
I'm Dutch.
So it might also be because it was you and I in person. You were here, and maybe they felt like I was bullying you just because I'm so giant. And it's like that's I don't know, but I feel like each time we get into these exchanges, it's good. It's a good thing I feel like I learned things. I feel like at the time somebody was videoing it, and I felt like there was information that needed to get into the camera. But it's like, and at the same time, I had an exchange recently with Thomas Rubino, where he was kind of like the only thing to do is batch box, and I'm saying no. I think that there's a time and a place for a J tube, and I actually think it's most of the time should be J tube, and and for a while I was very sour on batch box, but now it's like, boy, there are situations where batch box is really the only way to go. But that's, and I kind of feel like we can go into this space and explore this.
Yeah, I'm keen to hear that.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. But today we have a whole other thing that we're trying to do. And Peter, the fact that you brought up that you guys experience frost and your temperatures will drop a few degrees below freezing, but not a lot. And then Alexandra was saying that for her, where she is, because I've been to Colorado, it does tend to be about 10 or 15 degrees warmer than Montana. And so while she gets it to be substantially below freezing, it won't be nearly as cold as what we do here. Like I think the coldest that Alexandra has ever experienced is 22 degrees warmer than the coldest we've experienced here in Montana, roughly, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I would like to point out that it is currently colder here today, this right now, where I am, than it is where you are, Paul.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is cold here today, but it ain't all that cold. I mean, I think right now we're at about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. What are you sporting?
So this morning we had a low of 0, so that's
Oh.
negative 17 Celsius.
We've had a bizarrely warm winter so far, where we have not yet been below 0, which is kind of, I'd say half of our winters are kind of like that now.
I mean, that's surprising for you since it's now end of January.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. And
it's been very warm here as well.
And we're doing an experiment here at my place currently, and I know. So Alexander, you have like more than a month of experience of running the rocket mass heater here at the Fisher Price House, and Peter, you've seen this rocket mass heater and built others around here, but you're here usually when you've been here. It's been October. We would have those events in October, and you would come. So not the deep cold, but you know it could be cold. So we're doing an experiment this year to see if we could heat this building all winter long with nothing but cardboard and papery garbage and woody garbages. And we kind of got some definitions of what that means, like, you know, using wood scraps from the wood shop, using prunings, using sticks found on the ground within 100 feet of the front door, stuff like that. And it's going to be, I just remember a story from 2009. There was a guy who heated his home all winter with nothing but junk mail. And the key is that with a rocket mass heater, your fuel needs are so small that that this becomes possible. And I know that Andreas, who's managing our whole event today and set it all up and is excited about this event and this topic, he sent me an email or a message this morning from somebody that's a permaculture person who was saying something like, well, I've got an 80% efficient wood stove. How is a rocket mass heater? Brr, brr, brr. And it's like, and I know that Peter and I were both recorded talking about this man, that must have been 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that.
No, something like this, yes.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, and to put it into a nutshell, it's like, first of all, just because there's a label saying that it's 80% efficient doesn't mean it actually is. In fact, I know that by law, they're allowed to add 16 points to that. But Peter, you measure those, and you measure rocket mass heaters with a testometer a lot. And I think I remember you saying that when you measure those, like you measure the conventional wood stoves, they frequently come in way under what they say that they are. And rocket mass heaters average 93%, but maybe your numbers are better now with your new creations. I'm not sure.
Um, the latest one is doing a bit more, but not much.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
ceiling. You can't go further than that because otherwise the chimney wouldn't heat up.
So I think the big thing is that an 80% efficient wood stove was actually doing something like 65% in a lab, under lab conditions, under optimal conditions with perfectly dry wood. So I would guess that a homeowner is going to get something like maybe 45% efficiency, maybe 40% efficiency out of that. And then they're sending half the heat out the roof. And so then the next thing is, and this is probably the most important thing, they try to do what's called a cold burn, which is where they try to put a giant juicy log on the fire at night and turn the air intake way down in the hopes that it'll burn all night long. But now you're running your 80% efficient wood stove at 3% efficiency, which creates all that smoke and creosote that gives wood burning a bad name. Peter, have I exaggerated anything at any point? You are the math guy.
Mm, well, it depends on what you see as the efficiency. The A normal wood stove, uh, cast iron or whatever, uh, can reach decent efficiencies. Can reach decent efficiencies, but normally they don't. Uh, Thomas Rubino said something about that. Uh, that his latest heater in the cabin, he had for there a piece of Alaska pipeline there for 40 years or something, and he used to burn 3 quarts or more during one winter for the cabin alone, and now it's reduced to 1 quart probably. That's the idea. Uh, which means the efficiency of the heater isn't 3 times as much, but you have different things: burn efficiency and heat extraction efficiency. And heat extraction efficiency isn't that good for cast iron heater, but the burn efficiency is, well, call it lousy when it's damped down, not only at night but also in the day.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that you've got to. I mean, for that air intake, I just want to express to anybody who's got a wood stove that has an air intake on it. I think that there is no. You should never operate it in middle ground. It should be either all the way open or all the way closed. And as long as there's a fire going, it's all the way open. And that's the only way you operate it. And that when the fire is out, all the way closed. And that's the only way to operate it. I also want, for anybody who's got a regular wood stove, I want to suggest do not have a fire while you're sleeping. You know,
Dangerous.
yes, not only is it dangerous, but you're also going to, it's also inefficient, and you're actually going to be making your home colder. And I got a lot to say about that, but that's not what today's thing is about. I actually, to get to the 100 degrees below zero idea, I think there's one really important thing, is that if you're about to experience 100 degrees below zero, whether you've got a rocket mass heater, a wood stove, or you've got a heat pump. First of all, I don't think any heat pump will work at 100 degrees below zero, but whatever your heat source is, I think one important thing to keep in mind is plumbing. I think you better be thinking a lot about your plumbing, and it's like, either you're going to heat your home up to like 85 degrees, which will help to keep your plumbing in the walls from freezing. Probably a good idea also to keep all your plumbing like dribbling. So like I would go to the kitchen sink and maybe some of the other sinks and turn them to a point where they've got a little bit of water going through them. Like just a little bit more than a drip, drip, drip. And then, but you're going to have to heat your house up to be pretty warm to keep your pipes from freezing. Now, I think that another thing that some people might want to do is if it's like, oh, here in a few hours, we're going to hit 100 below outside. I think that a thing that they might want to consider doing is to drain all the plumbing, because your plumbing in your house probably isn't going to cope. And it sounds like from what Peter was describing there in the Netherlands, where a lot of people don't have insulation in their homes, those people need to drain all the plumbing in their house before 100 below comes around. Otherwise, they're gonna once the 100 below comes and goes, they're going to be living in the middle of a water fountain. I mean,
is that common practice?
It's done in practice. In the Netherlands, I will remember that my father did it when it was the weather forecast was going to freeze a couple of degrees at night. Then every evening he emptied the pipes and filled them up in the morning again for washing and making tea and so on. But they used to do that. Quite sensible. You can take the risk and say, oh well, but otherwise when the pipes freeze, there is more than 50% chance that they will rupture.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I think
I think that's a good idea, Paul, to include that as just empty the pipes. That's the best to prevent accidents.
Well, I think that for a lot of cabins, I mean, that's exactly what they do. Is it's kind of like, okay, we went to our cabin in November, and now we're all done with the cabin, and we're going to go home. And as part of going home, we're going to drain all the plumbing, because no one's going to be here to heat the cabin. And so the cabin is going to go to whatever cold is going to happen over the next couple of months. And it's like, then if you come back to the cabin and you heat it all up, then you can turn the plumbing back on if you want. But, so this is a fairly common thing for cold areas. But I also think that a lot of people don't know that because they live in a home, which is different. And they just keep a home heated all the time. And even when they're gone, if they're going to go on vacation for 2 weeks in the middle of winter, I mean, they leave the heat on.
Yeah.
They don't turn the heat off. They just leave it on. And so, all right, if we're going to talk about there's a storm coming and 100, it's going to be 100 below. First of all, I want to say I'm going to be just fine. I think the two of you might be screwed, but I don't know. I know that Alexandra is an engineer and Peter is an expert on heat. So maybe you guys will pull through. But
I think
the fact that it's such a big leap for the both of you,
Not me.
it could be a little bit of adventure. I kind of feel like, it'll be like normal. For us, we did have a cold spell like a little more than a month ago, and the power went out for 2.5 days. But we were warm and toasty,
It was warm
because we had a rocket mass heater. But I was a little worried about the plumbing. But with the house being so warm, I was a little less worried. But I kind of felt like we got to keep the water moving, but we don't have electricity to keep the water moving. So, but all right, I do think step one, you got to think about the plumbing in your house. And most people aren't used to thinking about the plumbing in their house. And if it's going to be 100 below, boy, I would have to say that the plumbing in here, because it's like if the plumbing is inside your house and it's closer to the interior than the exterior, but the exterior is 100 below, I don't know. Is that going to drop below freezing? If you're keeping your house to 60 degrees, I'm thinking you're going to lose some pipes. Also, I want to point out, there are places that I've been, like in the Seattle area, Portland, Eugene, and they will once in a long while get freezing conditions. And if they haven't drained stuff ahead of time because there's a freeze coming, it's like 32 on the dot, 32 degrees on the dot, 0 degrees Celsius on the dot, pipes explode.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, it's right at freezing temperature. Everything starts to explode. So it's like you start getting close to freezing. It's time to be cautious and be thinking about what you're going to do about that and how you're going to mitigate that. So, all right. Freezing pipes would be one thing. The next thing is
before we move on, I would love to establish some degree of rule of thumb. So, maybe if you have a historic problem of sensitive pipes, maybe you want to drain it as you're approaching 32. But, Paul or Peter, from your insulated, lived-in homes, at what point, at what temperature would you go to drain your pipes?
Oh, I would have to say I'd be thinking about draining the pipes here. If I'm going to be here, like let's say I'm going to be in the house and have power, and it's going to be 100 below outside, I think I'm going to do tricks rather than drain the pipes.
Yeah.
But I know about the tricks. I mean, they're not that hard.
Keeping the water flowing, dripping.
Keep the water flowing would be one of the tricks.
Okay, so even at very extreme temperatures, you still wouldn't drain your pipes.
When the temperature here was 25 below a couple of winters ago, one of the things that we did is we raised the temperature inside the house to above 75, and we held it above 75. And for each of the sinks, we would open up the cupboards under the sink to let warm air in around the plumbing that's in there, which doesn't really get to a lot of the plumbing, but it does get to some of the plumbing. And we made sure to be using a lot of water those days just to make sure that the water kept moving through the pipes.
Yeah.
And that's at 25 below. I would say that would be fine until about 40 below. And then I would want to keep the water running all the time. And I would want to raise the temperature in the interior even higher. And then if we're going to talk about 100 below, like it's like without wind chill outside, it's going to be 100 below. I would say I'm going to keep the water flowing substantially inside, just like a dribble at every sink. And I'm going to try to get the interior temperature up to 85 degrees and hold it as a minimum of 85, which means everybody's going to wear summer gear.
Yeah. So for reference, at negative 40 Fahrenheit, it's also negative 40 Celsius, and negative 100 Fahrenheit would be negative 73. So even at your worst case scenario, you're still not draining the pipes. And so now I'm kind of keen to see where Peter's thresholds are for draining pipes and what temperature that looks like for him.
No draining pipes. The house is built in such a way that, let's say, in the Fisher-Price house, there is probably 2 inches of insulation in the walls or something.
I would guess the exterior walls have 4 inches. That's a guess.
Okay, 4.
I did not build this house. It was here when I got here.
Yeah. Say 4 inches. This house, in a mild climate, has about 1 foot of insulation in the exterior walls, and there are no water pipes in these walls. They're all in the inside walls.
Yeah. Sounds like great design.
It's also that, not that I experienced that, but some people say, well, you have a passive house and you go away for 14 days and it freezes outside and you do nothing. Then you come back and it's still about 10 degrees above zero, above freezing. What's that, Alexander?
10 Celsius above would be 50 Fahrenheit. That's still pretty warm.
Yes, so the pipes won't freeze. But in our former address, we had a house from 1923 and with massive walls of bricks and very little insulation. And we drained the pipes when we went out for 2 weeks or something, for 1 week maybe in winter. But now we don't do it anymore.
Sure.
Not at all. More insulation means less emptying the pipes.
So in your 1923 house, if you had an overnight temperature that was very cold, what temperature would be cold enough for you to drain your pipes like your father did overnight?
It's a good question. It didn't get that cold because we had mass heaters in the house at the time. Small one. We say now it's small mass heaters, just about half a metric ton or something. And we at the start, at the time, first half of the 80s, those were large. Now I see them as small.
Yeah.
But they kept the house at a reasonable temperature, and draining the pipes wasn't necessary for, well, say 10 degrees freezing.
I see. Well, gosh, I hate to leave at this time, but I have to leave in haste. It was nice chatting with you both. I'll look forward to hearing the rest later. Bye.
We'll talk about the best stuff while you're gone.
Okay.
Now, I want to complicate all of this dramatically. And I think, Peter, you'll enjoy this. And it goes like this. Let's suppose it gets to like, oh no, 100 below. It's 100 below outside, and but I think that what's going to happen when suddenly it's colder than it's ever been before,
Mm.
I think that we're going to lose electricity. I think that grid power will be gone.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's going to be
Mm.
true in the Netherlands, but I think that nearly all of the United States, it's going to be that way. Um, and they've got, I don't even want to get into why, but it's been my experience that for, weather comedies come and, it'll be more than what they predicted or something. And the electricity goes out. Sometimes it's political. I've heard some stories about some places where it got really cold, and then there's like debates over how much the electricity should be when the demand gets that high for heat. And so, uh, setting that aside, I think it's fair to say that if it's going to be 100 below, that that people get to experience 100 below in combination with having no grid power. Um, does that seem reasonable to you, Peter?
Well, um, most housing in the Netherlands have natural gas heating, and but they require uh, grid power anyway, so they have no heating then.
Yeah, yeah,
So not at all. And when they cook on natural gas, that is quite often the case. Um, they could cook, but that's all. And burning, lighting the burners without a cooking pan or something on it um, could warm the place up a bit, but it's also dangerous because of the carbon monoxide. So
I would say it's even worse than the
I
carbon
think we,
dioxide.
I think we were screwed. Then.
Yeah, I want to point out that whenever you run a gas burner in your kitchen, that okay, yeah, there's carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide and water coming off of that. But
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is that it's consuming the oxygen in the room. And so I would say that now you are competing with that device to have air to breathe. And so
Yep.
I all right, setting that aside. But yeah, if you don't have electricity, your natural gas heat doesn't work. If you don't have electricity, your heat pump doesn't work and your resistance heat doesn't work. And so that 100 below becomes about 100 times scarier. Um, I kind of feel like, but you and I have a J tube rocket mass heater. I choose to believe that you have the latest Peter Venberg batch box style rocket mass heater that's somehow better than mine. Um, and
The latest one is
I don't know.
quite a bit better, yes.
Yeah.
But now, uh, you know what happens with a rocket mass heater? One of the problems which you won't see is that when you refill the thing, then at some then uh, the heat has to go up inside before it is burning clean again, and it can burn very very clean. I admit that, of course, but the latest batch rocket core, the shorty core, um, can be refilled without uh, any problems. Yeah, I know of one. It's a big one, and in a shop, and they're burning it all day long. and it never gets smoke out of the chimney. Not even almost never, no, never. So I think it's better, but I've it took me 40 years to come at that point. So it's not.
So
it took me a lot of time. Let's say that.
So what I was kind of doing was I was kind of talking about like, okay, let's say it's going to be 100 below. Like, what do you do when it gets to be 100 below outside in order to heat your home? And most people heat their homes with natural gas or with a form of electric heat. And there's a lot of people advocating that homes should move to pure electric. I do think it is wise for people to get away from natural gas for a variety of reasons. But a lot of people have it right now, and that's their form of heat. And I kind of feel like, okay, if we hit 100 below, I think that you should expect that your power is going to go out. And then your natural gas heat isn't going to work, and your electric heat isn't going to work. And then if people are heating their homes with propane, I don't think those are going to work either, for the same reason the natural gas isn't going to work. It requires electricity for the propane heater to function. And so I think that most pellet stoves will stop functioning because they require electricity in order to, because a lot of pellet stoves have like a little fan, and then the auger is electric. But there are some like the Liberator style or the Gamera style, they've got pellet stove things that are completely gravity fed. They'll continue to function even when the power is out.
That's a small percentages.
Oh yeah.
It's 1% or something. The 99% needs electricity. That's it.
Yeah. So most pellet stoves will stop functioning entirely when the power goes out. And so now I would say that there are a few wood stoves that depend on electricity to function, but there's not very many. Most wood stoves will continue to function when the power is out. Of course, rocket mass heaters will all function correctly. Masonry heaters, now rocket mass heaters are classified as a type of masonry heater, but old school masonry heaters will continue to function when the power is out. And they'll do fine. They'll do great. The problem is if it's 100 below and somebody's got a wood stove, my impression is that a lot of people with a wood stove, they're like a lot of them, when it's not all that cold, they're feeding their wood stove almost 24 hours a day.
Yep.
That's been my impression. Like they're getting up several times a night to add wood to the stove to stay to not stay warm.
That's what Thomas did. He got up once or twice in every night to refill the wood stove, and he did that for 40 years. And now he has a mass heater, and
he can sleep.
Yeah. 40 years of sleep deprivation.
Oh, that just sounds miserable. And yet, I know that I've got about 10 years racked up of running a conventional wood stove to heat my home through the winter. And but what I would do would be like, I'm just going to wake up in the morning and it's going to be cold. And it's like, so I just try to get to be very warm before I go to bed. I do not try to do an all-night burn. I just cork everything down. I get the air intakes turned down to 0 when I go to bed. And yeah, in the morning it's cold, but I don't know. It's like that's just how it is. And now the rocket mass heater, it's delicious. Yeah, it's like if I'm going to bed and it's 72, it'll probably be 69 when I wake up. And so, you know, I go to bed and it's comfortable, and I wake up and it's comfortable, and there's no fire. But okay, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say at 100 below, if we're preparing for it, if we're thinking about it, like what are people going to do? And I kind of feel like, okay, let's suppose that you drain all of the water out of your house. So you're just gonna, the 100 below is coming, so you decide to do that. And part of it could be because you're thinking to yourself, uh, uh, the electricity is going to go out, and all I've got is this natural gas heater, and so I need to drain the water out of the house so I don't bust all my pipes. And it's like, okay, and then as you pointed out, you still have a burner. And here's one thing, here's a big strategy that I think is really important, and that is hot water bottles. So if it's 100 below outside and you effectively don't have any heat inside, then I would have to say that I'm going to want, I mean, I actually own 2 hot water bottles.
Ooh, luxury.
Yes, but it's rare that I need it, but I gotta say, when you just feel that a bunch of cold or whatever, and whatever's going on, and you want to be warmer than everybody else, a hot water bottle is the magic stuff. Of course, another path you could do would be to warm up a big rock or something and cuddle the rock like you would a hot water bottle. That'll do almost as good as a hot water bottle. What I'm trying to say is that for those people that don't have rocket mass, I mean, if you've got a rocket mass heater like you and I do, you're golden. If it gets, in fact, I want to go on record saying, and you have a rocket mass heater, which is probably better than mine in this scenario. But I want to say that right now, when it gets to be really cold, I think when we have those days that are 20 below or 25 below, I would say that we run our rocket mass heater for 5 hours a day, not 24 hours a day, but 5 hours a day. And so I think that if we were to get to 100 below, I might be running my rocket mass heater for something more like 10 or even 12 hours a day. And that's probably all I'll need, but that's a lot of guessy guess. But I've got room to spare, and if the power is out, I'm going to be fine. Now, a batch box rocket mass heater will burn 4.5 times more wood than a J tube. And I believe it's 4.6, but of course it depends on the size. Go ahead, correct me, Peter. I see you shaking your head like, what a fool!
When you say it like that, it sounds like for every heat unit you burn a J tube, as opposed to a batch box. The batch box burn 4 times as much wood for the same amount of heat. That's not true. When you have a heater that's above 90% efficiency, and you have 2 heaters of the same liege, then there is no difference between them in the as burning the amount of fuel. But the batch box is more powerful than a J tube for the same chimney and same system size. And it might be that it burns more Of course, it does because it's more powerful, but it's still the same efficiency. Because for every pound of wood, you get the same heat. Is that sounds that reasonable?
Oh, I have like an hour of things to say in response to what you just said. There
Oh.
is there is so much that is true, and there's so much I want to challenge you on. And
Mm,
I kind of and in fact I wish to do this while you and I are here because I'm excited to hear what you'd have to say to the things I have to say. Um, but at the same time, I kind of feel like let's first wrap up this 100 below scenario.
yeah.
And it's like, but the thing is that whereas I'm going to be burning for 12 hours a day, I think that you're going to be just as comfortable on this 100 below scenario as me while burning maybe 2.5 hours a day. The key
Yeah.
is that it's like when it's 100 below outside, you will yell out the window, "Is that all you got? Because I could go colder. Go ahead, do it." And I wouldn't yell it out the window quite as loudly because it's like
Because it's too cold.
I don't want to be burning a fire in the middle of the night.
No.
But at 100 below, I won't have to. But at 150 below, I might have to.
Yeah. It, de-
Yeah,
it depends on the severity of the situation. Let's say
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And I'm just saying that since you have a batch box rocket mass heater, you are better prepared for this extreme cold than I am. Um, because I'm using not only am I using a J tube, but my wood feed is effectively a 6-inch J tube wood feed. And so I can't even put as much wood in it at once. Um, and so it's kind of like so I'm restricted and limited, but I don't need much. Um,
No, no,
so
and I think it's different. What I see is how much fuel you have to burn for a given amount of heat, and in the way you do it in the tube, it will take longer, and in the batch box it will take less time because you can put more in it. But pound for pound, the same efficiency, so the same heat. It's not that I burn more than you do for the same heat. Maybe it's warmer in here in house, but uh, probably I'm older than you, and I like it warm.
so all right, let's go ahead. I'm excited. I'm so glad you're here and that you foolishly chosen to visit about heat with me today. Um, and it's like I love the idea of visiting with you about this. Um, and so to just touch for a moment on what you just said, the true answer is it depends. So part of it is it depends on how efficient your radiator is and your mass is at harvesting heat before the leftover heat goes out the vertical exhaust.
Yeah, that's
And
the efficiency.
if it's too efficient for me, I can't get the system to work.
Yeah,
Um, and then, but at the same time, you probably aren't going to make a system that's too efficient, even though, and I'm going to say a thing, and it sounds like you're going to disagree with it, but I'm going to put it out there. You're, you have the ability to burn 4.5 times more wood than me at one moment.
at a
You're,
given time, at a given span of time.
yes, I like that. That works. And it's like because you got a batch box, you got a bigger box where the wood goes in
Yeah,
than my wood feed in the J tube. Now, in order for your system to be as efficient at putting heat into a mass or into the room before it goes out the roof, you're going to need possibly a larger radiator, possibly a larger mass, stuff like that. You'll make your system work so that when there's 4.5 times more BTUs being poured into your system, that you're going to try to get your vertical exhaust temperature to be pretty good. It'll be higher than mine in order to get to the same efficiency.
Not
But if
much.
you can get your vertical exhaust to be the same as mine, your system is now more efficient than mine.
Well,
However,
what
you'll need to warm
I
your
do,
system up ahead of time in order to be able to run a smaller amount of wood later.
again, what do you say?
Okay. If your vertical exhaust temperature is the same as mine, while you're burning 4.5 times more wood, your system is more efficient than mine. Math, baby, math. Come on, you're the
Yeah,
math guy. Keep up.
but what you are saying now is not math, but it's an opinion. But okay, uh, let's say um that's what I did. But um, there is a certain minimum for uh, for a heater, a certain chimney temperature minimum.
Yeah, for it to go up.
Otherwise it won't work.
Correct.
The point I don't have the numbers in Fahrenheit, but when it's in 20 minutes not above 60 degrees C, the temperature in the chimney, then you will experience a chimney stall, which means that the chimney door will stop altogether and broke will loose. Oh, sorry, smoke will break loose. Okay.
Yeah. I
But
call that a cold plug.
that, yeah, but in the first quarter of an hour, it isn't a cold plug. It runs fine, but at some point, it stops.
Right. This is
And
kind of the Achilles heel of a rocket mass heater because we've extracted so much heat so efficiently that
yeah,
if we don't spill enough out the vertical exhaust, the system will fail. And we kind of tend to get a little efficiency greedy, and that makes some rocket mass heaters fail. I mean, when people talk about how rocket mass heaters is a bunch of bullshit, they they're usually making stuff up and they have no idea what they're talking about. And so it's a bunch of fiction. But now the idea of the cold plug or of the system failing because we didn't put enough heat out the vertical exhaust. This is the true Achilles heel of the design. And we got to be careful to not get too efficiency greedy, or else the system will just run poorly. It'll be awful. It'll be miserable. And so this is the thing as rocket mass heater designers. This is the thing that we're truly working against. And so, but we want it to be very efficient. And it's like I love the idea of exploring these efficiencies. And at the same time, it's like okay, batch box. I'm gonna let me take 3 big steps back from this conversation we're having at this very moment, and I'm going to state where I think a J-tube is better than a batch box, and where I think a batch box is better than a J-tube. And I believe the expression on your face is like, batch box is always better than a J-tube. I think I just read that on your face, but I could be mistaken. No. Okay. So I think in the
It
future,
depends. The word is
yes.
it depends. It depends what do you expect of it.
That, so I'm going to say that for a shop or a wood shop, anything that's like an outdoor shop where there's not people living there through the night, that a batch box is going to be superior. And the reason is that you're going to show up to the space and it's cold and you want to heat it up very, very fast. And so I think a batch box will be able to heat it up. And forgive me, I'm going to use this number again. It'll heat the space 4.5 times faster than a J tube,
Mm-hmm.
which is of tremendous value if you're going to go in, heat the space up, be in the space for a few hours, and then leave, and you won't come back for a couple of days.
You're talking about uh, the
The
big one
triple.
in the shop or the one uh, in the workshop, in the smaller space where you
So,
come in.
okay, you are familiar with the two batch
Yes,
box rocket mass heaters I
yeah,
have.
I know that, but the point is, both these heaters consist of barrels mainly.
No mass.
Uh, some mass in the one in the larger space,
Oh,
but
right.
uh,
Yep.
but there are three barrels there, and the somewhat smaller one in the workshop is also three barrels. So you can heat it up quickly, but the heater you can see here behind me, the red one, that's that won't heat up that fast because it's built as a slow heater,
Oh, yeah. And that's another
and
thing to talk about.
that's this is a pure mass heater, and the ones you have uh, in the do you call it auditorium still?
So there's the classroom and the wood shop.
Okay, the classroom and the wood shop, they both have uh, fast working heaters, and
Yes.
the one in the classroom was designed like that. I know was it 2014 or something, 12 years ago, and it was designed like that, and I was taking a gamble at the time because I didn't build such a big one before, and I did a lot of calculations and not sleeping very well and so on, and then we built it, and I got away with it. Let's say that. But it was a lot of experience, and I have been building on the same sort of experiences most of the time. Oh, that's him. Yes, that's the big one.
That's
It
the
works.
that's the little
Yeah,
one. That's the new one.
yeah, but it's a 7 incher, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a 7-inch batch box.
Yeah, it's not that small, but okay, it's a space heater for a workshop, and that's it.
So let me go back about 4.5 minutes to what I was saying, and that is that batch box. There we go. That's the one you built, and that's
Yeah,
also you all those years ago, looking
yeah,
young
I
and
know.
svelte. So the thing is that a batch box is really good because like inside of the classroom or inside of the wood shop, it's like it's going to be very, very cold, and we got to warm it up a lot really fast. Like
Yeah,
how warm can we gain 50 degrees, 60 degrees in 45 minutes? And yes, we can with these systems. So you got to make this big leap in temperature very, very fast. And that's where a batch box is really terrific. I would say the same goes for a cabin, because you're going to arrive at a cabin and it is cold inside and cold outside, and everybody wants it to be warm very, very fast. And so, once again, a batch box really is great. The teepee is an example of something where a batch box is really great, because it's almost always going to be cold like a cabin. Another
Yeah.
one is the sauna. Doing a sauna is really good, because the temperature inside is going to start off really, really cold. You're going to heat it up fast and get up. Okay, now let's talk about where a J tube is, in my opinion, much better than a batch box. And I'm going to say pretty much inside of a home. Generally, in a home, the thing that you get with a J tube is that you're already at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're thinking like, oh, I'm just going to warm it up a little bit. And so you make one quick fire, it goes about half an hour, and now it's 73. And it's like, oh, that's good. Done. And most of the time, that's all throughout the winter. That's kind of like all you're doing. Maybe once in a while it got down to 64, and you're going to warm it up to 74 for some reason, and then you're going to run a fire for more than an hour. And it's like, okay. But the other thing is that I'm going to make a statement, and I'm sure you'll disagree with me, but I'm going to say all batch box builds are 3 times more complicated than J-tube builds. And I think that one could argue about, like, well, there's certain ones that might, if you do a really complicated J-tube build and a really simple batch box build, you might get some, might not be that bad. But in general, I'm going to say anytime you do a batch box build, it's going to be 3 times more work, more complexity, more stuff, more this and that than a J-tube build. And now is your moment to tell me how dumb I am at saying that out loud.
Do you want to hear that?
What I want to hear is, I don't believe you can say something if you don't believe it's true. And so what I want to hear is what, I mean, I first of all, I'll stand by it. I think that a batch box build is pretty universally 3 times more work and complexity than a J-tube build. But
it's more complex, yes.
Yeah.
It's doing a lot more also. It's a more potent burner than a J-tube. And for that kind of power that comes out of it, it's more complex. Of course, let's say a race car is much more complicated than an ordinary family car, what you see as a family car in the United States. Of
Sure.
course, it depends on what you want of it, and also what you said just now was doing away with the fact that a batch box doesn't need to have a full load.
That's true.
Just
However,
a half load or less, even, it will burn as clean, and that's it. I experienced quarter loads and measured that, and it was very good, very well. I was actually, the first time I experienced that, Uh, I was surprised actually that it could do that. Um, maar, but the idea is when you don't need fast heat because it's in a home, like the one behind me, which is 24 hours ago that it was run, and it need to be run in an hour or something, but not. Uh, it could be 2 hours also, but
That
it's
has no
now
radiator.
quarter.
That's pure
So
mass, no radiator, right?
no fast radiator. No, it's pure mass.
Right,
It's no steel on the outside. All masonry,
right.
and so it can store a lot of heat, and it's about around freezing point now here, and we still have only one fire a day, just one fire a day. It depends on when I see the weather forecast and they say, well, there will be a lot of sunshine today. Okay, so the load let need to be a bit smaller. That's all. And the doors are open now to the rest of the house because we had a lot of sunshine. So the rest of the house is warming up as we speak. It's a quarter past 7 now here in the evening. And but the idea is in a house, I I'm opposed to having a fast heater in a house where it's being lived every day. So a pure mass heater is different, and a pure mass heater means you have to feed it regularly, every day, every day 2 times, and a bit 100 uh, 100 Fahrenheit uh, below. Uh, minus 100. Okay, minus 100 Fahrenheit. Then it means we have to probably fire 3 times a day. But that's it. And we have a bigger space, so it's like the latest one in a sculptures. Okay, shop, a big shop. They fire it all day long, just because they need that much power. It's a big heater. It's a big heater.
Right.
Uh, five metric tons. It's really heavy. Uh, Built on purpose like that, and they are very satisfied with it because it will never get cold there. Not anymore.
I
Not even.
want to. So I'm basically expressing that, and I kind of feel like you agreed with me. Is the whole thing where a J tube is a simpler build.
Yep.
Also, I believe that the mass is going to be probably not as substantial, um, but it could vary depending on tastes and stuff like that. But but the place where I would love to talk to you about is, and I think I shared this with you once, and I believe you had positive things to say. But let's put this into this. We're recording this right now, so what I want to do is to say in the last several years, I've been more focusing on efficiency of a rocket mass heater when it is not burning. And so I want to cork the system.
Mhm.
However, when corking the system, I think that the people who design rocket mass heaters, their earliest designs, when trying to get the efficiency from when the system's not running, depends entirely on human discipline, which then becomes the failure point of the system. As you learn that humans are not as disciplined as you might wish for them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I've been kind of exploring the idea, because we have a high Gilligan factor here. And I know that that's probably, I know it's a phrase you understand thoroughly, but maybe not everybody knows it that's watching this now, but I think you could probably guess. But it's like, I want to design systems that are going to be Gilligan resistant. They're going to function without human discipline. They're going to function correctly and efficiently without human discipline. And so, for example, in the library, we have a rocket mass heater in there that was our experimenter's rocket mass heater for years. And it had guillotines and plugs and bypasses and all kinds of stuff. And we took a lot of that out.
Too complicated.
And I mean, it was there because we thought people will just have to have the discipline to use these tools correctly to get the system to be more efficient. And what we learned was people are not as disciplined as we would like. So we've shifted. But a lot of the things that we're doing now are all about how to get a system to be more efficient when it's not being used. So, for example, you've had a fire, the mass is warmed up, and now you need to cork it. Now, one of the things is that for each of the batch box systems that I've seen, they have an air intake port that is a very exact size.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when I bring this up every single time, people that love batch box always say the exact same thing, and then I always say the exact same thing. And it goes like this. It's open. This hole is open when the system's not being used. And so as much as we've got some channels for the air to move through that slow air movement when the system is not hot, there's still air moving through.
Yep.
Mostly because the system is warm and the outside is cold, and there's a vertical exhaust which is pulling air through the system. And so then people who love batch box will say, well, you could just plug the hole. And then my response is, because of the law of Gilligan's, they won't unplug the hole when they start the next fire. And then when things go bad, they'll blame the design of the system, not the fact that they forgot to unplug the hole that they plugged.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing about the J-tube is that if you plug the hole, usually with 2 bricks over the J-tube opening, then kind of hard to start the fire with those bricks there. So you always remember to push them aside to get the fire started.
So, well, let's say I make a distinction between first generation batch boxes. The one in the auditorium is one of those, and probably the one in the workshop. Yeah, that's a first generation also. But the latest generation that I've worked a couple of years on has a valve for the air intake, and it is constructed in such a way that it's open or closed, nothing in between. You can't damp it down. And the reason to use that is that the core itself has a maximum burn rate. It can't, with a firm can't, any faster burning than a certain level, which means the uh, the air intake is even too large. But does it matter? And it's fed in a certain way. The core is easier to make, it's less complicated, but the door is more complicated then. There's something in the racing car that need to be complicated, otherwise it won't race. Something like that. But a YouTube is simpler. I'll give you that. Of course it is. So there is depends on what you want. Do you want a simple heater with which you can burn probably for a couple of hours a day, or do you want a pure mass heater that you can fill and walk away from and come back in an hour and close the door or the air intake? It depends on what you want.
I like the idea of coming up with some way to close the air intake, but you can't, you will be unable to start the next fire until you have somehow opened the air intake, as opposed to
Yeah.
the Gilligan
Yeah,
factor.
there is a way to do it. There is a way to do it.
There is a way
But
to do it.
yeah, there is a way to do it. But it requires electricity. It's a
Ah,
shame.
ah.
You can make it automatically.
I
It's not
love the
very difficult.
analogy with the race car, and I kind of feel like, yes, that makes great sense. You know, to have a race car uh, versus what I'm suggesting. Let's, instead of a race car, let's build a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle, and it's like
It was rather complicated, by the way. But okay, for the time it was complicated. But
but
the
I think for a 2026 race car,
yeah,
it's going to be a lot more complicated than a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I kind of feel like, but at the same time, I also believe that for every 2026 race car that's built, I think that there might be, I don't know, a million Volkswagen Beetles. And so it's like,
Well,
and so I'm
the
making their people's heater, their people's
the
heater.
it's not when you can say compli more complicated, and we take two of two cars very wide apart, and then we say uh, we do another analogy, and then it's much wider apart again. That's not the way to do exaggeration, I think.
Okay. I think another thing I want to talk about, since it's you and I, and I, if we have time, I want to go into appreciation for two of the projects that you left here, um, because I've got something to say about them. But for the moment, I want to talk about something. The Cyclone. I don't know if you remember the Cyclone, but that was a pure mass rocket mass heater. It had no radiator, and was inside the red cabin. So,
It's not my project.
right, no, Donkey built it.
Yeah,
In fact, he wasn't supposed to build it, uh, but you had inside the red cabin at the time was your project called that you called Minnie Mouse, and
yeah.
he took Minnie Mouse out even though he wasn't supposed to, and started building this other thing that he ended up calling the Cyclone. And the Cyclone was very beautiful,
Mm.
but we ended up tearing it out. But the primary well, there were many reasons we had to take it out. It was failing in ways, and it was frustrating and annoying, and I'm just. But one of the things, and it's something that you mentioned a moment ago, though, there we've got, you can see Donkey there talking about his creation at an early state. But
Yeah.
one of the things that you mentioned a moment ago is like if you've got a pure mass rocket mass heater and it has no
Yeah.
radiator, I want to make a statement about that. And I want to say it takes practice to use it well, to use it in a way that you will enjoy it, which is going to be probably different. Like a Gilligan is going to hate it. And the reason why I say that is that when people stayed in the red cabin with the cyclone, they ended up hating the cyclone. And part of it is because it's a cabin. And so even though this was a batch box, it was a 4-inch batch box, and you could put a lot of fire in it at once, the fact that it had no radiator made it so that when you're in a cabin scenario, it's like, okay, it's really cold in here. Let's get a fire going and warm it up. And then
you have to do it the day before.
That sounds like human discipline to me.
Yes. But,
yes.
It's a cabin, not constantly occupied.
Yeah.
So you have like the 100 degrees below, you have to anticipate on what is coming on.
Oh, yes. So you say to Gilligan, I need you to go down there and get a fire going. And then the Gilligan will run some logic and be like, why is Paul making me, there's nobody staying in the cabin today. Why? You know what? That guy's a fucking idiot. I'm going to not build a fire because he obviously forgot. What a dope.
We do another statement. The fast radiator, like a barrel, works a lot better than a pure mass heater when it comes to heating up fast. Okay?
Yes.
And the second is for spaces that are not constantly occupied, not 24/7, you have to have a fast radiator. Otherwise, it won't heat up very fast. That's what my
so now, of course,
the first batch box I built, a complete one, was in my workshop with a tower of 3 barrels with a 6-inch core in it, and it was built just like that because I wanted a fast heater.
Yep.
That's it.
Now, of course, I'm spelling things out, and you know where I'm going with all of this, so I'm going to just say it so that the other people that are watching this will understand. So the problem that we had with the cyclone is that in the end, people would run like if it's a cold day and someone's going to stay in the cabin tonight, people would run a fire for 3 to 4 hours. Yes, no. You got to let me finish saying it so people can hear, because I know you know where I'm going, but everybody else doesn't know where I'm going. So we would run a fire
in the middle of the night. They started sweating like pigs because it was too warm. Yes,
you're skipping ahead. You're getting ahead of the story. And so, okay,
it's a mass heater. It's
so
mass
finally,
heater.
after 3 or 4 hours of fire, they're like, finally, it is acceptably warm in here. I'm so sick of screwing around with this damn fire, and I'm going to go to bed. And so the fire's out, and then they go to bed, and then an hour later, they're like, it's 100 degrees in here. And then so they open a window so they could go back to sleep because it's so hot. And in the morning, they're freezing their nubs off because somebody left the damn window open. These
let's
rocket
say
mass heaters suck.
all, all the guests in the cabin were Gilligans. Okay.
Yes, yes. And so I want, and in fact, now I'm going to move on to the thing where and I don't know if you're aware of this, but for the Love Shack, the Minnie Mouse heater that you built,
Yeah.
when people would get it warm at night and they would wake up in the morning on a cold day, they would have lost 15 degrees, maybe 18 degrees of heat. It would be substantially cooler indoors, which makes
Yeah.
sense because Minnie Mouse doesn't have a lot of mass
No.
inside. Um, but the space is pretty small too, but still it's like, boy, that's just too much. So we put the Cobb hat on and the results were amazing. We would lose 2 degrees at night.
More mass?
And so basically, have you seen this Cobb hat? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've seen pictures of it.
Okay, Andreas, I don't know if you can find the Cobb hat images quickly and put them up on the screen. But so basically, we made a gap over the top of the barrel because you don't want to put anything on top of the barrel. And then we put like a 14-inch thick Cobb blob above the top of the barrel.
Yeah, like a dome oven.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the idea was, okay, so that's like a prototype that we turned out to take out, and that's in a whole different. That's on top of Uncle Mud's cottage rocket. I'm talking about Peter's Minnie Mouse style, which is kind of similar, but the Cobb hat we put on it was a little different, and it had more of a slot opening. So that's an early the picture there is an early prototype. But anyway, so there's a 14-inch thick Cobb blob hovering about 3 inches above the top of the barrel.
Oh.
So the idea is that as the heat would come off the top of the barrel, it would heat the blob, and then we are experiencing a loss of 2 degrees through the night instead of like 15 degrees. So much more comfortable in the morning.
Yeah, but now it's more mass.
Yeah, well, it's not only more mass, but in a way it's wasted heat because otherwise the radiant heat coming off the top of the barrel is just hitting the ceiling, and you're probably just melting a bunch of snow inside the Love Shack, above the Love Shack.
Yeah.
And so there. Okay, I think here we're there's the Love Shack, and there you can kind of see it there. We made a little video about it, and Andreas made a really nice video showing all of this. But so there's a good image right there of the Cobb hat that's on top of Minnie Mouse. It is doing really well. So this was an experiment that you did, and it worked to a degree. Although I got to say, I don't want to ever have a 4-inch system again. I mean, this is the last 4-inch system that we have allowed to exist at my place. And the big problem we have with it is nobody can get their hand in there to get the ash out. So we got to haul in a shop vac to kind of vacuum out the ash once in a while. Because 4 inches is just too small. But it does work. It does heat. And now with the Cobb hat, it performs really well. Now, inside the red cabin, we have a 6-inch J-tube system that we've put in there, and we've put a Cobb hat on that, and that's working really well too. All I wanted to do is to say, okay, one of your experiments here was Minnie Mouse, and we've had success with it. And considering how the mass is inside the barrel, and the success is kind of like meh, it was, but with the Cobb hat, it's moved from being a mediocre success to being a strong success. Just wanted to share that. The other thing that you did is you had your very first double shoebox design, and you put that in at Allerton Abbey as a cooktop, a rocket cooktop.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, another guy built a Sidewinder rocket cooktop, and over at Cooper Cabin, and that was with purchased metal top. Like, I'm not sure if it was cast iron or steel, but it was a lot of metal, and it was very expensive. Whereas you built yours with a recycled electric oven glass top. And yours is, by people's choice, the winner by far. Unanimous.
Okay.
Everybody who's used both prefers yours because you can boil water.
Despite it is so small, do you know why it is so small?
I'm going to go with no. I don't know why it's so small.
No. Well, there was a girl who said, I'm going to live there. So I used her size to shape the furnace or whatever it is. But also, at the time, there was an earth floor, and now there is a wooden floor on top of that, so the thing is even lower.
Right.
So everybody is too large for it. And despite that, you say,
oh, everybody loves it. It is the best.
It runs very fast, very hot.
Yeah.
It's actually the only double shoebox number one, because I have three. I did 3 shoeboxes of different kinds, but the only one that was successful, actually.
Oh,
thank you.
Interesting. Well,
the thing is unique because I stopped the development of the DSR-1 double shoebox rocket about a year later because I couldn't get it to behave.
Well, this one behaves. This one is glorious. And it's got I would have to say also one of the most beautiful things about it is it works extremely well with Gilligan's. We have not had any Gilligan issues. I would say the only thing that we had a problem with was the casserole door. And it's kind of funny because Matt Walker said it'll shatter. It won't last.
Oh.
And then it shattered. And so then we've got a new one that was different. Okay, well, this one will last. It shattered also because that's what, and Matt Walker predicted it too. He said that one will also shatter, and it did. And then we got another one that was like the amber glass. Okay, and this one won't shatter. And Matt Walker said, no, that'll shatter too. And it did.
Yeah.
And so then we got our Cobb out, we reshaped it, and now we hang a cast iron skillet over that hole. And that has worked for years.
Okay, now it worked.
Yeah.
But the point is, the thing is so damn powerful that it's not easy to tame it. It will destroy any type of door probably. But
the cast iron
cast iron skillet.
The cast iron skillet has lasted like I think 5 years now.
Yeah, the type of bricks in there are probably crumbling now. Is that right?
Well, I don't know because somebody thought that the bricks were ugly and they covered it up with a layer of Cobb.
No, that's the outside. No, inside the firebox.
Okay, all right. I haven't looked. I have not looked. Um, it's been going strong. It's got a lot of miles on it.
Oh,
But okay, the key is that when people go to Cooper Cabin and use that Sidewinder style rocket cooktop, it takes them an hour to boil water.
yeah.
And when they use your double shoebox at Allerton Abbey, they can boil water in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
From
it's
starting from cold,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's so small. It's a dwarf actually,
I
but
mean,
yes, it works.
it would be nice if it was taller,
Yeah.
but other than that, it's like. In fact, I think Jennifer Richardson, when she was here, she built like a wooden floor behind it so she could cook on it without having to bend over so much.
Yeah.
And it was just lower in that lower area kind of a thing. But
Yeah.
all I want to do, and what I do want to say, I thought that when we did the permaculture tech, or the rocket mass heater jamborees, when we did the rocket mass heater jamborees here, we always did at least 5 global experts here with 5 builds happening at the same time. I thought those events were glorious because then, like, you and the other people and me could argue about all these designs and stuff. And then we could try out things and prove each other to be wrong or whatever. And so, but I do believe everything moved forward a little bit during
Yep.
these events.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I went way in the red for every event, and I know that you contacted me and said, "Hey, when are we going to do another one of these?" And I keep thinking, like, well, if I could do a Kickstarter that does really good, then I do think it's time to do another one. And I got projects in mind and everything. But until then, it's difficult for me to go that far into the red. I mean, I love the idea of maybe I should do it kind of like a Kickstarter and say, like, if I can sell this many tickets, then we could do it. And if we don't sell that many tickets, then we can't. But it's a tolerant. And when we talked about doing it again, part of the idea was not only to fly you over here from Europe, but then also fly over the Gamera guys. And then there's that guy that's in Israel that's done some real beautiful work. And it's
has
like,
been in the United States. That guy from Israel.
well, yeah, I met him in the United States.
Yeah.
He was in Missoula. He came to a Missoula event that I helped set up. And that's where I met him. And so, but, anyway, the thing is that if we're going to have 5 builds by 5 global experts, then it's like, we got to pick our global experts. But if our global experts are, from not around here, it costs more to get them here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, and I think we started to do something only like, I think that the Gamera guys, like the United States said, no, you can't go to the United States. And as, which seemed kind of mean, but I think I think part of it may have been the COVIDs or something. So we ended up canceling that event. So anyway, all right. I just want to say I thought those events were terrific because we ended up with a lot of cross-pollination between the leaders of rocket mass heater stuff. And at the same time, I'm sad because I kind of feel like interest in rocket mass heaters should be 1,000 times greater than what it is. And, it is what it is, but it's still sad. So, all right. Anyway, there I'm glad we got to visit about Batchbox versus JTube, and that we got to visit about the value of a radiator. We got to visit about uh, efficiency of a system when there is no fire. Um, and I and also how it would be delightful to have another Rocket Mass Eater Jamboree. I don't see it happening for a while, but I'm going to try. I mean, I'm going to try to see if we can pull it off.
I have something to say about it. I'm turning 80 years of age in 5 weeks or something. Uh, so when you have a jamboree in the coming 5 years or so, maybe I'm still around, maybe not. I don't know.
Oh man, Peter, I had no idea you were that old. You're so old.
I don't feel old, but I am.
So, in fact, if we were to do it this year, I mean, I remember that there was one time you came here and the flight just really took it out of you. It was like 3 or 4 days to shake off the flight, and it aggravated something in you. It was like all that flight was not good for you. Uh,
No.
I don't know. If we flew you over here this year, like in October, would you? You think you'd do great? You'd be all right? Okay. I just read
At the
your face.
moment, I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
I don't know about next year, but at the moment, I don't think it would be a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Understood. So, still,
No, not that I'm dying. No, no plans in that direction. But well,
it's just that
I'm
that much
I,
travel,
I'm a bit shaky now and then.
yeah, that much travel is rough on you.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, it's like one of those things where to get here, it'd be like 24 hours of airport crap.
No, not 24, but about 18 or something.
Yeah, it's a
And
lot. It's a lot. So, all right, all right, all right. Peter, while you have the floor, is there anything else you'd like to talk about today? About 100 Below, or about Rocket Mass Eaters are awesome, or I don't know. How your
uh,
systems beat up my systems.
um, well, there are some ideas in here, but I need to find the energy to start another experiment. Um, Something which could uh, develop the YouTube in another direction.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't know whether it will work or not. I have indication that it will, but not for sure. And it would be very interesting to do that during a jamboree and see whether it would work or not. But it's okay. Uh, we'll see.
Okay, all right.
At the moment, I don't have. What's that?
Oh, it's Andreas is kind of stepping
Okay.
in to wave at us or something.
No, I
Okay.
have Ben Falk is asking me if he can join us for a little bit to talk about his questions quickly. Would you guys be up for it or too late?
I would, if it's going to be like 7 minutes or so, I think it'd be great. Bring him in.
It's
Okay,
okay.
I'm sending him the link. You good?
So, Peter, do you know who Ben Falk is?
Again?
So there's a guy, Ben Falk. He lives on the East Coast of the United States. He's a permaculture guy, and he has a rocket mass heater. And so he would like to join us for a few minutes before we wrap up for the day. But
I don't know the
while we're
guy.
waiting for Ben to come along, it sounds like you've got an idea for a J-tube, but it needs to be tried out. It needs, the experiment needs to happen to see if it does what you hope it will do.
Yeah. Actually, the idea is something that was triggered on the one hand by Erica. One of her experiments was the immersible rocket mass heater to warm a bath or something, and the mechanics in there are very, let's say, interesting, and the cabin heater of, was it the cabin heater of Uncle Mud? Uncle Mud's.
Cottage rocket?
Not. Oh, the cottage rocket. Okay, that one has a very short tunnel. Hello, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Mr. Falk. So just to wrap up, so Peter, you've got some ideas that are along the lines of Erica Wisner's stuff and maybe something to do with Uncle Mud's cottage rocket design, something down that road.
The cottage rocket design has a very short tunnel. Actually, there is no tunnel as such. It still works, but the mechanics in there could be improved.
Okay, all right.
In some way, but it has to be tried out whether it will work or not.
Okay. So Ben, I understand you've got some questions. We've only got just a couple minutes left, but go ahead, hit us with what you got.
Oh, well, I the only question I had is what I asked on your post about, cutting out 90% of the wood use, or being like 10 times using a tenth of the wood for the compared to a modern wood stove. I'd love to. I know rocket mass heaters are obviously very efficient, and they beat the efficiency of the most efficient wood stove. But there's two things. One, a tenth the wood use of a modern wood stove. I would love to see it. I find that just really hard to believe. I mean, you even doubling the efficiency would be incredible. But two, when it comes to actually choosing to use a rocket mass heater versus a high performance wood stove, one should consider the multiple functions of a wood stove, which is that you can quite easily heat all your domestic water, do all your cooking as well while you're heating your space too, because you've got that fire going all the time. And I know you.
My guess is that.
What's that?
Okay. As you were asking that question, you cut out a lot, but I think it might be my connection. Is my connection rough, or is it somebody else's connection is rough?
It might have been mine. Can you hear me okay?
No, it's yours. It's yours, Paul. It's frozen again. Paul?
I think we lost Paul.
Yeah, I think we lost Paul. Paul is frozen because it's 100 degrees below zero. Okay.
Okay. So can you guys hear me now? Is everything smooth now? I switched my internet.
I can hear you now.
Okay. I want to take on Ben's question, and Peter will then correct whatever I say. And so it goes like this. First of all, your 80% efficient wood stove is actually closer to something like 65% efficient. the government allows them to say it's 80, even though it's 65, because they're talking about the amount of heat that goes up the chimney might not count or whatever. But on top of that, it got to 65 under some very pristine laboratory conditions. The average operator is going to be lucky to get it to like 40% efficiency. But most importantly, most people will foolishly operate their conventional wood stove, their 80% efficient wood stove, at 3% efficiency at night. They're going to put a big log on the fire and turn the air intake down low to try to get an all-night burn, thus giving all wood burning contraptions a bad name, as it puts out a whole bunch of smoke and creosote. Now, let me ask you, if you have a wood stove that's burning at 3% efficiency, and I make the claim I want to heat my home with 1/10 of the wood, is it now believable?
Yeah, sure, but that is an unrealistically low number for even most people, and only at night. And anyone, you have to use a lot of things in life skillfully. So I think if we're comparing using something totally incompetently to using something else competently, it doesn't seem like apples to apples. So we'd have to decide what you really want to compare it to. I mean, I think a lot of people, it's achievable to use a wood stove at moderate efficiency, pretty well. We burn it all night. I wake up in the middle of the night and feed it once, and it's burning just as efficiently at night as it is during the day.
I love watching Peter shake his head as you say those things you just said, because I was thinking what Peter's thinking, like, oh, Ben, we have so much to talk about. So let me see if I can read Peter's mind. And it's like the thing I described is just the beginning. Would that be correct, Peter? Did I read your mind correctly?
Go on, please.
Yes. So there's also the thing about how when you run that 80%, and I'm going to say 80% with air quotes here, 80% efficient wood stove.
No, it isn't.
It isn't 80%, but even more than that, half the heat.
No, that's fine. But let's say 60. I mean, a good user of a wood stove, I think, let's say, could get 50 or 60. So just let's say 50. I wouldn't counter that you couldn't run a rocket stove at twice the efficiency. That's great. But efficiency isn't the only end goal of any system or technology. So,
no, it's true.
As you know. So what I would say is, show me. I've proved for 20 years that you can heat all your hot water in a small, not even very well insulated home on 2 cords of wood, all your heat and all your hot water and all your cooking for the whole winter on 2 cords in zone 4. Like, you might be a little colder than we are, but you have way more sun probably. We barely do. I'm in the sun right now, which is like a 1 in every 10 days this time of year. And so I wouldn't counter you could get a cord, do 1 cord, but I have yet to see the model where it's also all the water, all the cooking, and you've got a fire going all the time, which is nice to stand around. I know you have an amazing, awesome mass, and that's great, and you have less emissions, and that's awesome. I mean, I understand quite well how efficient and the benefits of a mass-based heater, and I think they certainly have their application. But I'm just comparing it to the systems that we've used here and been working with for 20 plus years. Which I think is accessible. I don't think you have to be very masterful in your use to use a wood stove pretty efficiently.
So I'm going to restate a thing I stated a moment ago, but I don't think it got through. And that is that when you take your wood stove or any wood stove, whether it's a conventional wood stove, a really modern wood stove, any of these wood stoves, the way that you are still putting at least half the heat out the roof. Peter, how's my math on that?
I could believe that. Absolutely.
It looks correct, but
Okay.
um, I'm I've a lot of trouble with 1/10 of the fuel, but uh,
1/10 is a
it,
lot. 1/10 is, I mean,
yeah,
that's a huge
yeah,
difference. 10x.
that's what I said. I have troubles with that, but the idea is time and again I see people who steps up. I call it a step up from conventional wood stove, uh, being Alaska pipeline or cast iron or whatever it is, and they use a certain amount of fuel per winter for that. Then they step up for to a mass heater, preferably my design, but it's okay. They step up to a mass heater and they cut it down to 1/3 of the same fuel. And the, oh, he's not there anymore.
Oh no, I'm
Ben,
still here. Sorry, I'm still here.
you're still with us.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. But the idea is that you want a high efficiency heating water, do all the cooking and all the heating and so on, and then you ask a lot of a heater. And I think because you have all these uh, extra functions, it means it won't be uh, that efficient. And also the idea that you get up in the night to refill it and it smolders on. Yes, that's not efficient at all.
So I would have to say that one of the things is to address something that, so Ben was saying 2 cords per year.
Yeah.
And I want to say that about 7 or 8 years ago, we heated this home and we very, very carefully measured exactly how much wood we used. And we used 0.60 cords of wood to heat this home 1 year. And
So just over half a cord. Did I hear you right?
that is correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you describe the square footage and just thermal envelope of the home?
It is moderately insulated, so not really well insulated. We didn't have any blinds on the windows of any kind, or window quilts, or winter curtains of any kind. There's no front porch. It's 1,350 square feet, approximately, a 3-bedroom home. It's a double wide, so it's not exactly famous for great insulation.
Sure.
So does this help paint a picture of? And also, I want to state that we probably had an average temperature of 69. I don't think it ever got below 66, and we frequently had it up to 72, 73. So, and this also includes that at night we didn't have to, add to the fire or anything like that, because the mass would heat us through the night.
Yeah, that's definitely great. And that's in Montana. That's like, what was the average winter temp, or the average coldest part of the winter?
So I would have to, we are in zone 4.
Yeah.
And so I would have to say that, the coldest temperature we have ever experienced here is 26 below.
That's exactly our coldest too. Exactly 26 below.
Okay. Now, I've heated homes like this for probably more than 10 years using nothing but wood heat. And my experience is generally 5 or 6 cords of wood per winter. But I would wake up cold.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's fair to say that I'm heating this home with 1/10 the wood. Now,
I mean, I guess it depends on your wood heating system. The building that I'm talking about, I mean, it depends. Excuse me, on the building too. The building specific. So the building I'm speaking about, we've heated many winters on 2 quarts, plus all the hot water, and the hot water can take almost half the heat, or at least a third.
Right.
Is a bit bigger, and I don't know. It's hard to compare insulation, because the double wide can vary, but a double wide is certainly isn't very good. I agree. So, yeah, I mean, and that's very impressive. And I've never countered the efficiency of any mass heater, but I would think that building we could also do 2 cords on my wood setup, maybe 2.5 if it's much worse insulated than our building. But again, get all the hot water. And as you said, it would be colder for part of the day for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be remedied with just mass. It wouldn't have to be the thermal mass of the stove itself. That could also just be mass in the building to a large extent.
We recorded one of these things a few weeks ago to talk about exactly that for people with conventional wood stoves.
Yeah.
In order to address
did you get any hot water or cooking? How much cooking and hot water did you get from that system?
So Ben, you popped in a little late to our thing, and we need to wrap up. But I do want to leave you with one important thing: that when you have let's say an 80% efficient wood stove, most people operate it at 20% efficiency or less, usually with a cold burn at night of 3% efficiency. And then when the fire goes out, the way they have everything configured, it functions at negative efficiency as it continues to draw heat out of the house and through the roof when there is no fire. So there's that. And when you have a fire, generally about half the heat, maybe even more, goes out the roof. Whereas with a rocket mass heater, Peter Vandenberg is our expert on what I'm about to say next. And that is, while your conventional wood stoves tend to have an efficiency of about 50% or 40%, a rocket mass heater on average burns at a 93% efficiency. And this is carefully measured, not guessed at. And the results of these tests are available online. But on top of that, our exit temperature, whereas the exit temperature of a conventional wood stove is going to be 350 degrees Fahrenheit to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, the exit temperature of your rocket mass heaters tend to be 120 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're keeping a lot more of that heat inside. So,
Paul, I understand exactly all of those things about mass heaters and why they're so efficient. I'm bringing up all the other functions and the overall net result of them, and so I'm not countering the efficiency.
Okay.
I'm up the other aspects, and I was just countering the 1/10 of the efficiency because I think you're picking all of the worst numbers about a wood stove. I would say you could double the efficiency pretty easily, and that's great.
And I don't think it really has as much to do with efficiency.
Yeah.
I think what we're doing is we're saying you can heat your home and be even more comfortable with 1/10 of the wood. Now, I'm going to make this statement, and I know that other rocket mass heater experts kind of do a facepalm whenever I say it. Peter, when I say you can heat your home with 1/10 of the wood compared to a conventional wood stove, and I'm going to also say that a modern wood stove will heat your home with half the wood of a conventional wood stove. And I'm going to go even a little bit further to say that an old school masonry heater would heat your home with half the wood of a modern wood stove.
Yeah.
So these are my numbers that I'm going to state. And Peter, I think the world is going to think of you as a greater expert than I on this.
Well,
How are you? What are your numbers going to be like?
Um, most of the time, um, the slashing the fuel use down to 30% of what you did before is normal. And 1/10 is probably in, in just one or two examples, but it's possible. But the average stove is using much more, 3 times more, 4 times more, to 5 times more fuel than a mass heater. And a rocket mass heater is very efficient. That's all I can say about it.
What I just real quick, Paul, how are you cooking and getting your hot water in that test example? How?
Well, we talk about heating and not about cooking. Cooking
Right.
is an entirely different
Right.
sport.
But my reference is the overall energy consumption of the house, because most people still want hot water and still cook, and that's heat. That's a heat demand too. Which
Love the idea.
if your furnace of your house takes care of it, that matters a lot.
I do have like 5 or 6 hours to say about cooking with wood and heating water with wood.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Peter, you've been here, and you not only did you build the rocket cooktop that's inside of Allerton Abbey, but
Yeah.
I know that you have observed us using the rocket water heaters that we use. We've got 2 of those, one that's pressurized and one that's unpressurized. And I do feel like I've got a lot to say down these roads. And then, of course, there's the whole rocket oven thing, the rocket kiln that we recently built. I think there's a beautiful exploration down multiple paths here. And at the same time, we're at the end of our time, and my bladder is about to explode. So, so Ben, I'm so sorry, but you got here just in the last couple minutes.
I just got a message about it, so I'm sorry, but I'm joining you at the end. But yeah, I would love to, I love mass heaters, and I would love to send me any examples of someone who's getting all the functions from the rocket mass heater, because I think those are needed, and I've got my example that I feature in my book, and it's a proof of concept, and so it's out there. I'd love to see the proof of concepts,
Excellent.
references.
All right, so let's wrap this thing up. If you like this sort of thing, come on down to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about heat, homesteading, and permaculture all the